Hey Emily, you're the only person in this class, so this video is especially for you. So instead of doing asana today, we're going to talk about the very primal, most important asana position I think one should learn. And a very wise yogi said this. I just had a quote. Nothing lasting can be built on a shaky foundation. Nothing lasting can be built on a shaky foundation. So we're thinking about this pose, tadasana, mountain pose. Hold on one second. Echo, volume down. Mountain pose. And I want you to do this week for your homework some research on what's going on with the feet in mountain pose, which is the base of your foundation. I thought of this as I was thinking of this actually, and finding some information to show you for understanding this foundation. It's a great time now for us to study foundation because you've been doing so much asana and tons of great research up to date, and you're really good on most of your poses. And so let's understand that base pose and what's really crucial about the foundation. Now, I thought about your ankles how terrible your ankles felt last week. So the ankles right above the feet also will come into play in this pose. This pose we're talking about is tadasana, mountain pose. I'm going to show you a picture. So one of my most favorite yoga books, it is my textbook from my very first yoga teacher training, but anyone can buy this book. And it goes through a number of poses. It goes through, let's see. It's my page. I thought I had a bookmark there. Okay. So it takes you through standing poses, sitting poses, kneeling poses, supine poses, prone poses, arm support poses, standing. That was a Sanskrit index, and the same for the English index. So that way you know Tadasana, mountain, Utkatasana, chair, Paschimottanasana, seated forward fold. So you can look it up either way. You may have heard Adho Mukha Shavasana in class over and over, but you didn't know that was down dog. You could still use the index to find either one. This is a great book for you to have or to borrow from the library. So think about this book, Yoga Anatomy. Leslie Kaminoff is, I always thought was the main author, but there's also Amy Matthews and Sharon Ellis. And what this book does that's so amazing, that's going to help us study the feet today, what I'm going to do is take pictures of a couple of these pages so you can read this, and then this will be a springboard for your research. Or I'm just going to show you the pictures here on the video. You can pause. You don't have to read everything here because you'll find this if you research online, and that is your homework today. So skeletal joint actions, we're thinking about the spine, neutral extension of the spine for this Tadasana pose, thinking of upper limbs, neutral extension with the arms alongside the body, forearm pronation. So a bit of the forearms rotating forward, but the palms are facing the thighs. And then lower limbs, we have hip adduction, which means the hips are isometrically somewhat reaching away from the body, but mostly neutral extension, reaching down. We have a knee neutral extension, and ankle dorsiflexion will go back. We'll go back to that later. But let's think about the feet, and then we're going to see how the feet connect with the hands. So, a wide variety of muscles in the torso engaging in a combination of concentric and eccentric contractions to stabilize the curves in the spine, just for the human body to stand up. And that's what we find in this Tadasana pose. You have learned just by sitting and tuning into your mindful breath, your pranayama breath, that you're doing yoga. You may be sitting in your car, you may be sitting at your kitchen table, you're doing yoga. So the same thing is true of tadasana, of mountain pose. And this pose is bringing in relaxation and more peace to the body by understanding how to stand in this pose. But it's also something that you're just going to do for the rest of your life, standing. Let's pray that you are blessed to keep standing. So, understanding these combination of flexors and extensors and how they're active, and they vary in each person depending on your health, depending on your flexibility, depending on your fitness level. We want yours to stay in the maximum. The arches of the feet are engaged and connecting with the support of the pelvic floor. So the feet are here on the floor, but they're really strongly involved in connecting with the base of the pelvic floor in the upper body. And then the lower abdomen, the rib cage, the cervical spine, all up to the crown of the head. So think about, and maybe you don't know this yet, but there's a significance in the type of shoe and the sole of the type of shoe and the shape of that sole for relieving pain in the low spine. So it's one of the things I want you to look up. Shoes, the shape of the shoe for the sole of the foot and how that's connected to the low spine. You'll find that out as you're studying Tadasana pose. The base of the support of this pose, the feet, makes you understand how the forces of yielding and support, so give and unyielding, support and yield, how that operates in the human system. The essential structure of the foot, the base of the foot, we've discussed this before, is that triangle. So now the tip part of this triangle is the front part of the heel. And then you have the 3 points. We have the distal end of the first metatarsal and the distal end of the fifth metatarsal. So behind the big toe, behind the little toe. And that's how we form these triangle support. So let me see if I can. This is a picture of the feet coming together, and it shows the two triangles coming together. So if you see here, this bottom part of the triangle, one corner here, one corner here, same on this foot. They've connected them all through the middle to show you how that works together. Okay, something else significant is the plantar fascia. The most superficial layer of the foot, I mean, it's the supreme superficial layer is the skin, but right below the skin, on the base of the foot, stretching from the heel all the way to, again, the distal metatarsals of each toe, is the plantar fascia. The more the arch support muscles weaken, the more pressure is put on this plantar fascia. And then that results in plantar fasciitis and something called heel spurs. You actually have a spur that grows out from your bone, and that pointy part of that bone protuberance is painful. Sometimes it breaks off. Not so nice. So what has happened is, with modern day, with so much cement and very even surfaces, and sometimes people just going from in one building to a car to inside another building, not a lot of walking on natural ground, on grass, up a hill, down a hill, but just so many surfaces that are paved, because even a dirt road is not flat like a paved road. What has happened is that the foot has not had to move in the way it's needed to move in order to keep the plantar fascia healthy, to keep all of the joints and the bones growing, moving, retracting, extending. And that has resulted in very weak feet. There are, again, some shoes that work to strive to prevent this from happening, causing the toes to work in the way they should, causing the heel to sit in the way it should. So I want you to think about that. There's a lot of anatomy that goes along with that. Now, here's what's interesting. If you look at another pose, a pose that you're very, very good at, Urdhva Dhanurasana, that is upward bow pose or wheel pose. Excuse me, Emily. Summer, would you please address all the various areas of the kitchen. Yeah, it's tore up from the floor up. Okay, here's this pose. So what's excellent about this book is it's highlighting the skeletal frame, and then it's highlighting what's happening with each muscle group. Okay, now what you can't see under here, we're going to see on a different pages, but under the feet is mirroring what's happening under the hands. Because honestly, the feet are another representation of the hands, except the skin comes further down. So a lot of part of the toes are underneath of this flesh and not as separate as they are with the fingers. A lot of the things are the same. So you can see that and understand that in this bow pose. Urdhva. So now let's look at this view. This is a view as if the floor was glass. So let you take a look at that. And then take a look underneath here. So you're having the same activity in the hand, extremely similar to the activity that's happening in the foot in this pose. So, how do you find a really good tadasana? Mountain pose. The first thing we want to focus in on is the breath. Tadasana is an excellent position for observing the interaction between the muscles that are used for support in holding the body upright in this mountain pose. The muscles that create shape and change in the abdomen as you breathe, as you inhale through the nose and exhale through the nose. What's happening in the abdominal wall and the thoracic cavities, thoracic part of our body, this chest part. When there's clear support from the feet, legs, and spine, there's more mobility in the rib cage and shoulder girdle to allow for more movement of the breath. So again, everything is starting from this foundation of the feet. It's interesting that if you know of a farrier who takes care of horses' feet, they have a phrase, a bumper sticker, no foot, no horse. If the foot is in trouble, the rest of the body is in trouble. So it seems to be very true for us just with the breath. Just not having the proper support of the feet causes the collapse of the upper body support. So in this tadasana, we're going to find a stable rooted base from the foot, from those three corners of the feet behind the big toe, directly behind the little toe, and at the front of the heel. So in your mind, closing your eyes, seeing that triangle as you stand, putting the feet about hip width apart, arms are extending down the side of the body, fingertips are reaching towards the ankles, palms are facing in. Gently relax the fingers in the hands, relaxing the shoulders away from the ears, and remembering head over heart, heart over pelvis for your spinal alignment. Now feel your pelvis tucking gently in towards the navel so we can lower the lumbar spine as low as extended as possible. And then the chin is here neutral, but just a tiny tip towards the cervix, not here, right? Just a tiny tip, extending the cervical spine up through the base of the skull. And then thinking about the contact of those feet on the mat, on the floor. So here's your homework. Study Tadasana pose and practice Tadasana pose 5 minutes every day. Had a brain lapse with talking in my other ear. Shoes that support the feet and cause the feet to do what they would naturally do. So understanding that yoga is not something that you just do on the mat, but yoga helps you to discover what parts of your body need more work. Okay, so what sort of shoes are very specifically made to enhance the health and the natural state the feet would be in when they aren't constantly walking on paved surfaces. Okay, so since they are for most people, what kind of shoe will help to enhance that to prevent low spine pain? How this understanding of what's going on with the feet is impacting the spine. And then studying the parts of the feet that are involved in Tadasana and just being upright. So I want you to study, what do I mean when I say distal metatarsal? What are your metatarsals? What is distal? What's the opposite of distal? And then what is going on with the heel? And what is this plantar fascia? And then the bad effects of this not going so well, and then the good effects of this going so well. And then compare that to the hands. So drawing in a notebook where you've been keeping yoga notes, drawing the underside of the hand, underside of the foot, being able to explain it, and you're thinking about Tadasana pose. Find another pose that will connect with the feet, with standing, and bringing back some restoration and health for the feet. Okay, so that's your yoga for the week, except I want you to do one practice from Yoga with Adrienne. You get to choose. If your ankles are feeling good, maybe find something that's going to do even more for your ankle health. But scroll through all of her videos, find something recent if you like, or go back 3 years. And then let me know which one you've been working on. Okay? Thanks for tuning in. See you next Wednesday.